When you scroll through ESPN's 30 for 30 documentaries, you'll see a handful of stories on great basketball players.
Oh, if you don't like that, you don't like NBA basketball!
Or you'll see stories on a football team who made a risky trade that paid off in a big way.
Play clock at 5. Pass is intercepted at the goal line by Malcolm Butler.
But you'll never see one on the sport of running. Some will say it's because running is too boring. Others will say because it's not a real sport.
Third, second place, hurdles, Billy Mills. Billy Mills pouring on the steam. Billy Mills is really putting it on. Billy Mills has the lead for the United States heading toward the finish line. Billy Mills.
But what if I told you there existed such a running class whose story was worth telling?
Really want another Bill Clinton.
A running class that rigged a school-wide election as a revenge stunt.
I won. Did I rig the election? Yes, I rigged it. But I still won.
A class so talented, they would finish runner-up in the state with almost no training. Would their story be worth telling?
Class 17, I'm gonna be honest, they were savage animals, man.
We just want to be great!
I mean, my God, the stuff they did was incredible.
If there's a sacrifice going on, we stay there for as long as we can, and then someone is going to yell something really funny.
I think when historians, they sit down and they look at our class, they're going to think two things. Wow, these guys were extremely self-destructive. And two, they must not have given
He set a new AHS school record for 5 kilometers at 15:40. He's the HCC runner-up, the regional runner-up, all semi-state, and the only Avon boy to run 3 state finals. This year's most valuable runner for the second year in a row, senior Rhys.
When the class of 2017 joined the cross-country team, they brought a whole new array of characters and personalities, the likes of which have never been seen before. They were anything from the beliefs in magnetic healing techniques to the undescribable personality of Madison King.
So I've always had an affinity for nature, and particularly sticks. Even now I still collect cool sticks.
From the unpredictability of Perry Drum.
Yeah, that's right. We didn't leave. Second. Just kidding, I stole this out of coach's office one day.
To the creativity of Carson Botner.
I like all types of music.
But if one thing is for certain, it's that the class of 2017 became friends right off the bat.
I would say Parker is my best friend on the team. Parker didn't talk much, but he always had this charisma about him that girls just loved. So whenever I was around Parker, I would at least be able to watch him interact with a girl and just try to take tips on a notepad or my notes section, my phone, and just kind of see what he does so I could try to emulate the same thing.
Unfortunately, Parker wouldn't always be around for Carson. He went off the grid following the 2016 season and hasn't been heard from since. Though strong friendships were being forged, the class of 2017 also had its rocky starts, and the biggest one of their freshman year came when Kegan Graves fought Rhys before practice.
I don't know, man. Rhys just kind of gets a little weird around girls, and I was just doing my regular thing, and I kind of remember everything, but something happened, and he kicked me because I said something about a girl in front of him that he kind of took offense to.
Kind of started with me putting out my leg, trying to kick him, trying to knock down his like gates, I guess in other words. Try to kind of trip him up, make sure he wasn't able to take me down, but I misunderstood how quick he actually was.
Who won the fight?
Pushed it back, but obviously it was me.
Reaction when you heard about Rhys and Kegan fighting in practice?
My reaction to myself or my reaction to the team?
Your reaction.
Things that I couldn't say to the team.
From the beginning, Rhys was always one of the most mysterious characters on the team, but this was because he had a dark secret. Rhys considered himself to be a werewolf.
Rhys thinks he's a werewolf sometimes, usually late at night, sometimes it's during the day. He tells me personally that he just grows hair in places that he shouldn't be growing hair, like the back of his arm, and he's dead serious about it.
We just want to be friends!
It's a process that happens every single Saturday. I mean, it's honestly kind of fun, and I'm surprised that people were really, really scared about it. Like,
just hit him with something.
Here you go.
Follow-up question. So this is a conscious decision?
Yes.
Are you sure?
This is an entirely conscious decision.
Are you sure?
Are you certain?
Yeah, just yes, it is entirely a conscious decision.
And honestly, like, I encourage the creative thinking, but I think it's pretty funny, and I'm sure it gets him plenty of girls. Hopefully he doesn't do it in college because his roommate's going to think he's f***ing weird.
As most of the team believed that the class of 2017 was incredibly weird, it began to create a division amongst the team going into their sophomore year. As the Avon cross country team entered its 2014 season, it found itself as divided as ever. The team had split into 4 main cliques, which were the new freshman class, the class of 2017, a separatist group called Faction, and an upperclassmen group called Squad. The tensions and the division amongst the team was very evident.
You notice the divide between the team our sophomore year with the upperclassmen and the underclassmen?
Yes, quite a bit.
Each clique hated the others, but the biggest rivalry was between the class of 2017 and the upperclassmen group that was Squad.
Well, Squad, you see, was an elitist group. We were the varsity, the seniors. We took our training very seriously. And the sophomores didn't care for them.
Though the class of 2017 were only sophomores, they believed they were the true upperclassmen of the team and unified under a belief known as sophmority.
We sort of had a little bit of a cult going on, like a satanic cult, except instead of Satan, we worshipped our own grade level.
The term sophmority was invented by our class. It was created to combat phrases like freshmen, sophomores, double up, seniors in the line first. We were tired of that being told to us because we knew since we set foot in cross country that we were the best class and we were the team.
We decided that for sophmority, our combined philosophy, we needed a symbol. And so for several days in the woods, I went searching until I finally found it, a stick that was worthy to represent sophmority. And we used this stick along with many symbols of our adventures to pretty much symbolize our power and unity as a group.
All groups were intense and troublesome, but Faction stood out as being the most savage by far. Their main mission was to take out Avon cross country from the inside.
Faction was an Avon nationalist group comprised of myself, Kegan, Mike, and Jazz. We didn't like the route that cross country was going, mainly the running part of it.
Can you tell us a little bit about what Faction did?
Yeah, I mean, we offered 2 main big things. So first thing we did is we offered brotherhood to all our members. Second thing is we set traps in the woods. So we're talking glass, nails, holes, fishing wire, trip runners up, anything to give us that competitive edge and put us on that varsity roster.
No one was actually hurt by the traps, sadly.
Why did you start Faction?
Well, we had a nice message that I think a lot of guys really enjoyed. Basically, we offered something new, something exciting, something that kind of went against the status quo. But honestly, I started it just so I could feel important about myself and knew a lot of people wanted to follow me.
I was involved in Faction, but I wasn't really in a faction because I was in my own faction because, Faction turned into, their own group because there was 2 different groups on the team, and Faction's trying to be different, but really they're just turned into the thing they were trying to be different from, and I was kind of on the side, this is me, I'm different, I'm the real Faction here.
Even though Faction's main goal was to cause havoc on the team, they would never come close to the amount Madison King did on the day he released a cattail inside Avon High School.
I've been mad at Madison a lot, and that was probably the most mad I've ever been with him.
The settlement is lined with cattails, and cattails, you break them up in tons of tiny little seed pods, and it's practically a smoke screen. So you can shove that down kids' throats, they won't be breathing, they'll be coughing, they might die, but it's worth it. Well, anyways, one day I'm like, what could happen if I bring one of these guys back to the school? Not much, right? Well, I was wrong. We have this short little roly-poly kid on the team named AJ Dixon. He's pretty small. And he's sitting back in the corner of the box where we usually have fights. And I decide, hey, it'd be pretty funny. I think I could get some laughs if I cattailed AJ. So I take the cattail, use the standard cattail form, pinch right at the base, and then pull off like that. And then, so I do it, all of a sudden, 1 second he's there, then where's AJ go? He's gone. There's just a blanket of cattails and you can't see anything else. The thing was, the AC was on in the school, and so the air was circulating rather well. And in about 5 minutes, those cattail spores were all over the hallway. Tooth comes out. Oh, let me tell you, he was red as his hair. The only reason I was spared his full wrath was because Roserock's daughter, Grace, was right there. All he could say was, "Why? Why? Why?" over and over.
Fortunately, he was younger, and I could give him a little bit of the benefit of the doubt. But I was really mad that day.
As the class of 17's local image began to decline, their statewide image was on the rise when they created the comedy running Twitter account called Indiana Jogger.
Indiana Jogger was created by myself, Jacob Woodrow, and Mitchell Dimmerly. We were infuriated with the rankings that Indiana Runner had put out. We thought they did not rank us very well, and we thought they put bad teams in front of us. So that was why we made it. But then it turned into making fun of runners who got big heads, because we're in high school cross-country running. Like, no one cares about anything we do.
I liked it. I thought it was entertaining. I thought it was pretty cool. I was proud that it was some of our guys that did it because it was pretty witty. There's some things on there that are a little questionable, but I thought it was pretty funny overall.
So I wouldn't really say I had a favorite single moment of IJ, but probably my favorite part was just hating on Carmel so much. Because really, I mean, everyone hates on Carmel because Carmel sucks, but the reason we did that so often is because Carmel tweets got so many favorites. We had one tweet, it was just the Hollywood sign, and it said, "Carmel sucks." That tweet was seen by over 45,000 people. At one point, I literally bought the domain carmelsucks.com, and it redirects to Indiana Jogger's Twitter. But Carmel people, yeah, you suck, but we don't really have a hatred for you, we just use you to our own advantage.
As the team continued to be divided, the class of 2017 kept to their own and would often have group shenanigans sessions in one of two places. The first was Carson Botner's house.
Carsons House is like the mecca of our class. We'd always just go over there and screw around and do whatever we wanted.
Wait,
After, cross-country meets on Saturdays, all the boys would come over to Carsons House. We'd do some not-so-great things.
Guess who? Take one. Better put it out.
Oh shit, I got the water bottle.
It was a good time. I really enjoyed it. My favorite, I was always pretty tired from running really fast. So I just liked watching movies with the boys, but we'd have fun at Carsons House for sure.
The first time I went over there as sophomores, all of us together, we decided to play a game called Arrow Roulette. If you ever seen the movie Growing Up, so they all just stood in a circle and shot an arrow straight up in the air, that's pretty much what we did. Well, when we did that, everybody ran except for one person, and that one person was Rhys. He decided to just stand there and put his hands together like he was praying, and I swear to God, this arrow came down 2 feet from him, and I'm just about killed our best runner. It was probably the funniest thing ever.
The second place that the class of 2017 hung out at was a large forest 1.5 miles off campus called Anarchy.
There used to be these great trails pretty close to the high school where you could off and Tooth would never catch you, called Anarchy. We did so many things: hide and seek, fight night, tire kingdom. We built a fort.
We would literally just build forts. We went about 2 miles out, and there's a whole junkyard basically, and there were tires and stuff and old metal, and we would bring that back, and we were worn out after that. So we'd bring that back, we'd build forts, and we'd play hide and seek and tag and stuff like that, and it was just a good time overall.
Anarchy, if I could narrow it down to one word, it'd be escape. I could just go out there and be me. And it was a great place to play tag as well.
as well as mud wrestle.
I was the also all-time undefeated wrestler in Anarchy, which was that trail we went behind. I usually just wrestled there, or chilled, so I'm undefeated, so never lost.
Some of my best memories are in Anarchy Trail, and now it's gone. They destroyed it to make a neighborhood.
The loss of the forest that was Anarchy is a tragedy that still deeply affects the class to this day. When most of squad graduated after the 2015 track season, the team fell into the control of the class of 17. As the class of 2017 began their junior year, they started a frenzy of entertaining activities. Many of these activities took place during the weekly pasta dinners. One of their most famous activities was a full-blown presidential debate between senior Thomas Rank and juniors Madison King and Carson Botner. To this day, many of the things they said there cannot be explained.
We need to stop focusing on Israel and focus on our own backyard. Every day, Mexicans' heads are found on the side of the street.
The WWE fans, year after year, are pivotal players in our election.
Taxes, we're going to lower everything. You're not going to have to pay it. We're going to have a lot of oil. And I was thinking we're going to expand our country out to the Middle East. We're going to make Iran. I'm going to make Iran the 51st state.
So, what happened with the presidential debates?
Sorry, I'm playing Clash real quick. Just give me a second. I still play it.
So we started a tradition at Owen Fink's pasta dinner. We had 3 people debate each other, and Mitchell, myself, and Fred Bloom were the moderators.
We just debated over presidential stuff, like, immigration and global warming. Is real. I believe in global warming, but the human footprint is not very big at all. So if anyone's watching this and disagrees with me, you're wrong. I'm right. That's what Trump says too.
It's quite evident that, especially with the first one, things got out of hand really fast between Thomas Rank and Carson Botner. Like, it had stopped becoming a political, like, to share your political views, and it had become more of, like, personal attacks.
Politicians need to buckle up because they aren't getting the job done in office. These two are definitely not going to get the job done in office. He can't speak without stuttering.
At least I don't wear cargos that can't hold all the empty promises that you make.
It's like a wall between you and Katie Smith. Like, you just can't talk.
Do you regret anything about what you said regarding Thomas's,
No, I don't. Thomas is a loser. Thomas also can't talk to females. I think in college, it kind of changed him, though. I think he's better at talking to girls, but back in the day, he was really awkward. He was a four-eyes kid with curly hair that didn't really make sense at all. He thought he was really cool. I mean, he was a cross-country manager, team manager, so it's the one step lower from cross-country runner is cross-country manager.
Looking back, I think I could have done much better at the debates. I was taking it too seriously. I should have just been my regular old Madison savage self.
Carson is quite promiscuous, as we might say.
No.
Let me ask you, do we really want another Bill Clinton?
But having political debates was not the only activity the team did. Jousting had become an extremely popular event at Mitchell Dimmerly's pasta dinner.
Yeah, jousting. Oh my gosh, back in, I don't know what year it was, I look out my window, we're having a pasta party at our house, and I'm responsible for all these cross-country kids. I look out the window, and there's Madison King in one of my kids' playthings jousting with Carson Botner.
We got round commence. Round 2.
But they seemed to handle it pretty well. They didn't do it anymore after that, but they did break Mitchell's cozy coop.
The activity, however, did not always take place at the actual pasta dinner. Sometimes they left early to go somewhere else, like they did when the team decided to visit Salem Christian Church, a satanic church located in Mooresville, Indiana. But before going, the team had an extensive planning session, and all of this took place on the eve of the conference meet.
All I can say right now is Joppa's gonna f us up in the mind and physically. So, you guys need to do 500 push-ups tonight. This is the parking lot, this is the church. I'm not really worried much about the roads, I'm just worried about the setup, right? Okay, so this is the parking lot, this is the church. We're gonna park in the parking lot because we're not
Joppa was an interesting night. Started off as a pasta party, I believe, and turned into a show. We read a bunch of Reddits, which I believe is in a clip they're going to show you, or have shown you, saying about how there's this white van or white truck that'll follow you out of Joppa. Your car might disappear, all these things.
So when we got out to Joppa, it was about 10 o'clock at night, pitch dark, scary as heck. Nobody really wanted to get out of the car, so we all finally got out and we started walking towards the back door, and everybody was holding onto each other's shoulders, like too scared to even go near it. And Perry was he was just about to touch the doorknob when he swore he heard something from the inside, so we all just ran out and left.
A lot of strange stuff happened that night. The main thing was this very strange white car drove up, 4 people got out, and a black man started running at me, except his name was Kegan. So we were relieved to find that out.
So on the way back, I'm gonna admit, everybody was driving kind of like an asshole. We had Perry and Fred Bloom, and those were like the 2 worst drivers on the team almost.
We were all scared, but we were also in Plainfield at like 1 a.m. You know what happens in Plainfield at 1 a.m.? Whole lot of nothing.
Going down 40, we were probably doing about 60 miles an hour, and we decided to hand off a 2-liter bottle in between the 2 cars.
I decided, hey, I'm thirsty. I can't remember which way it went, but I'm thirsty. I want some Sprite. So we rolled down the windows and did a little passerby where T-Rank handed me a 2-liter Sprite as I tried drinking while driving.
And yeah, that went off without a hitch. It wasn't too bad.
With all the shenanigans going on, you might be wondering how the team got out of all this trouble they were causing. That can be summed up into one name: Mitchell Dimmerly.
I remember Mitchell. We knew him all as the Weasel because he got us out of so much.
Senior year, I realized I kind of needed to take on a leadership role, or else the team would be kind of screwed, just because we were all messing around, and I knew eventually we'd get into trouble if we messed around without someone to get us out of stuff. So I was a leader, sure, but really I was more of a person who made sure we didn't get into trouble for the things we did.
But Mitchell's skills were truly put to the test the day the entire class of 17 was caught trespassing on a very angry local farmer's land during a training run.
I go up to this farmer, he's yelling at us saying, "Get off our property, I don't want your parents to sue me," and I just go up and apologize, and I say, "I'm sorry, sir, this is just a misunderstanding. We didn't know this was your property." And then, so we continue running, and as soon as we get back to the school, I decide we should probably get in front of this, tell Tooth, so that he can hear what truly happened. And I think that was the best decision I ever made, was probably telling Tooth, because I knew he was going to get a phone call from this farmer about us trespassing on his land.
With all the messing around going on, some of the runners put too much effort into the shenanigans and not enough effort into running. A great laziness swept over the team that would hit class members such as Carson Botner very hard.
Cross country running for me, my junior and senior year, was just a lot of messing around. Coach, if you're watching this, you've never heard me say it, but you probably know I didn't run very much. So Fred Bloom and I just decided we would just go run to the cornfield, or just lightly jog to the cornfield, which for you who don't know, it's not even a quarter mile away from the high school. And we would sit in the cornfield. We would just sit there. We wouldn't do any activities. We would just sit there and talk. No effort. We would also order Jimmy John's to the cornfield, multiple instances where we'd have Jimmy John's guy actually physically come out to the cornfield. We would give him a little extra tip because he's walking to the cornfield for us. I always ate food, so I wouldn't burn any calories. I'd probably gain 600 from running. So if Tooth and wondered I was gaining a little weight that fall, it's because I was eating Jimmy John's and not actually running.
As the golden age came to a close, the class of 17 would now face their rockiest road.
What I want everyone to do is close your eyes. Picture the stupidest person you've ever met. It's probably Madison King.
Madison's a good friend. I've known him a long time, as long as I've been here in Avon. We went out in the circle and said things about each other, and I just told him straight out. I moved away from Madison because he was too poor, you know.
Madison King is a good man. I'm not going to back up everything he did. Like the cattails, the constant badgering of Coach and going against his morals, because I did the same thing.
In the spring of 2016, Madison King found himself at odds with his greatest competitor yet. But instead of it being a fellow athlete, it was the entire school. And it all started the day Avon High School released the second lip dub.
So this is a bit of a darker part of my history. Some say it's the reason I'm not in Purdue right now. But there was the lip dub fight. So as you know, first Avon lip dub, pretty successful. It was pretty fun too, even though I got my charger stolen afterwards. But second lip dub.
So our junior year, Avon had decided to make a second lip dub, which was not a popular thing, but they really had pushed it.
For real, no one wanted it. And on top of it, the organization was horrible. One, there were fake sick children. And you could see, as pointed out in the X-Files video, the kid in the wheelchair stands up. Two, our representatives of Avon High School were a bunch of like no good d***s and fucking like popular and stuff. 3, the people were so commanding that it was pretty much awful. And then 4, the music. That's pretty much what started it.
Now they gave the DJ job to who was supposed to make all original music, but Madison had figured out that he had stolen it from a YouTube remix video, and that's when he took to Twitter.
I had known to be like a minor Twitter savage up to that point, but after that it just blew up.
Madison made serious tweets. He called it phonies. He was calling people out,
and pretty immediately I started getting some responses from various people who are in the higher ups in the lip dub.
There was a group message, and they railed against Madison. There was death threats on Madison. They threatened to go to his house. They threatened to kill his brothers. He was getting threats from people on the track team and even our class president at the time.
I was, at one point, the most talked about and most hated student in Avon High School.
It was amazing how he did it, and then he went on to write his college essay about it, and he got rejected from Purdue. But the movement Madison had created could not be undone. The anti-establishment phenomenon had gained school-wide popularity, and in the coming weeks, Perry Drum and Carson Bodner would announce their candidacy for student government, with the hopes of ending the newly found out Avon establishment.
An extra point for America.
The Perry and Carson phenomenon hit Avon High School very hard, and undoubtedly I can say they revolutionized the entire school with their effective student government campaign.
Essentially, we were anti-educated. We didn't want educated people in the office, because when you have educated people in the office, they tend to be the educated elite. So Carson and I, we were really that common man.
They had released a series of campaign ads to target different groups.
I love dogs.
Vote Carbine!
They even got support from DECA, which was big in this time because DECA had all the money in our school.
We are the and we support Carson Bodner for class officer.
Though the movement was wildly popular, it angered the Avon establishment, who were in charge of the election results. And as you can imagine, the student government elections were tampered with.
I have seen my friends constantly struck down by the establishment. And this time, it was Perry and Carson.
What was the outcome of the election?
Well, Carson and I did not win positions, mainly because, we were taken into a room by Mr. Nelson. He was a Spanish teacher, and he told me that Carson and I had actually won by a landslide. However, because our essays they were too negative, in a sense. But we felt that our essays were strong. We'll put a link down below for you to go read the essays if you'd like.
The results of the election were an outrage, and Perry and Carson, like Madison King, decided to take to Twitter.
Hey, I'm Perry. And I'm Carson. Make sure you stay tuned on Friday for a special press release on all social media accounts regarding the election.
At the end of that week, Carson Bodner had devised a tweet that called out the Avon establishment as only winning the election because their parents were vice principals. The tweet caused a firestorm around the school, and the social impacts the class of 2017 had created made their way onto the track team. Some blamed them for yet another disappointing track and field state meet. When the 2016 track season winded down, the class of 17 enjoyed solace at the annual Avon cross-country team camp, where the team created a fighting ring.
I was just chilling in the cabin. All the young guys come up to me and they're like, Carson. I'm like, boys, what's going on? And they're like, he's being mean to me. So I said, let's go take it out in the pit. So we went out in this sand pit. We just started wrestling each other. It was kind of gay, but we're on the cross-country team, so what do you expect? I encouraged the whole thing. I started it. I was kind of thinking in my head, like, what if these two people fought each other? It would be funny. So I fought Parker Kulhanek. He's a little bigger than me. It's not about the size of the dog. It's about the heart in the dog, so I won that. And then also Colby and Mike fought, which they're best friends. I think they were fighting over a girl, maybe. It was funny. Colby's a lot bigger than Mike, but Mike put up one hell of a fight. Colby ended up winning, and Colby's a little crazy, so it was just funny to watch.
Fighting, however, was not the only event that went down at team camp. The team also enjoyed playing basketball, witnessed another sundowning event, and of course, there was the firecracker incident.
So senior year at team camp, I decided to bring a brick of ladyfingers, which are just small little firecrackers, and I decided to give them to Madison.
So it's the afternoon. Tooth and the other coaches are up at the front of team camp, so I figured they're far away enough.
We decided to take the trash can from our cabin, set it out in a field, put the whole brick of fireworks in there, and then light it off.
We thought they wouldn't be that loud, but within the trash can, it was pretty dang loud.
It sounded like there was just fully automatic fire going off in this field.
Eyewitnesses say you could hear it from a 10-mile radius. And we knew we f***ed up as soon as it went off, so we all started hitting the cabin. We waited.
And right when we all got settled, Tooth came back in, busted through the door. You could tell he was winded because he just had to sprint from the mess hall all the way back up to the cabin. And he came in and just like,
you have 3 seconds to tell me 3, 2, Madison King! Or me, I guess I wouldn't use the third person. And he's like, he looks down in pure disappointment because he knew that was the answer all along.
But unfortunately, not all members of the team would go to team camp.
I did not go to team camp. Oh, wait. Was that when we ordered that pizza and then the guy gave us some weed? Oh, no. Sorry. Different story. But I did not go to team camp because I didn't want to call you off.
When the class of 17 left team camp and returned to school in the fall, they saw a golden opportunity to have their revenge on the establishment, and it came in the form of the homecoming election.
This past senior year, I was nominated by my peers to be homecoming king. No big deal, I won. Did I rig the votes? I didn't personally rig the votes. Did I have someone rig the votes? Of course.
But who rigged the votes for Carson, you might ask? Well, it was none other than Student Government Vice President Hamza Syed, who was in charge of counting the homecoming votes.
No, yeah, I totally rigged that shit.
The class of 17 considered the homecoming victory a huge triumph over the establishment and a fair victory because of the student government election that had been robbed from them. But in all of this, it turns out that the class of 2017's greatest enemy was not the Avon establishment. It was themselves. And this shined clear on the event that some know as Open Mic Night, but others know as the night the team almost destroyed itself.
So what went down at Open Mic Night?
I thought we weren't going to talk about this.
So Zach, do you have anything to say about Open Mic Night?
Well, you got a bunch of teenage guys going up in a group and saying their deepest, darkest secrets, that's never going to work out well. I mean, someone's bound to snitch on someone else, and that's exactly what happened.
Open Mic Night. It happened at different people's houses. There were multiple open mic nights. That's a misconception. A lot of people said, oh, open mic night. It wasn't just one night, it was 2.
Do you have any regrets from Open Mic Night?
No comment.
Just kind of changed everyone. Rhys said some weird stuff. Kegan, weird stuff. Perry, some sad stuff. It was just an interesting night, and a lot of love was lost, a lot of lives were lost. But other than that, I plead the 5th.
Open mic night, man. Hey, it's crazy. What happens in this room stays in this room.
In theory, Open Mic Night was designed to strengthen trust by each person telling the group their deepest, darkest secrets. But because some of the secrets told in this group therapy session were leaked, the effects were quite the opposite. As the class of 17 entered their senior year, they were determined not to choke at state. The shenanigans came to a grinding halt.
We're going to get all the sustenance out this week and then train hardcore from here on.
The team now looked to podium at the cross-country state finals for the first time in the program's history. The season was going well, and the Avon lineup looked strong going into the state tournament. That is, until senior sectional roster member Nicholas Gill decided to take a random vacation to Key West the day before semi-state.
And a cross-country season, senior year, I'm thinking, do I want this? No. I have to start training for college life. You know, this is essential stuff here. So what do? After sectionals, I don't give very much of a warning, you know. Maybe I don't tell anyone, and I just head out to Key West.
Well, on the bus, Tooth is asking, where's Nick Gill? Has anybody seen Nick Gill? I don't remember him telling me he wouldn't be at practice.
I immediately thought of at least 5 or 6 guys that could have had his spot on the roster.
We had been arguing about this for about 20 minutes until Coach Bailey finally remembered, oh, that's right, Nick Gill told me he was down at Key West. Nick Gill was like 5 seconds from getting kicked off the team until Coach Bailey remembered that one simple little note right there.
At the state meet, the team ran well, but narrowly missed the podium.
We had the goal the whole year to come in top 5, which would be the podium. Well, we ended up coming in 6th. We lucked out a little bit when HSC flopped, but we also had a couple kids on our team kind of choke.
Cross-country state. Let's just not talk about that. I sucked.
To be honest, I'm surprised how well all of us did. 30th was a solid placement, and I wish I could have done better, but it just is what it is.
Surprisingly, Tooth wasn't angry at us, which usually that would happen if we don't reach our goal, but other than that, it was a perfect year.
With a 6th place finish at state, the team turned its sights to track.
Come on, Carson! You're all right!
But this would be the end of the road for Perry Drum and Carson Botner, who both decided to retire from running and join the unified track team.
Probably say the main reason I quit the track team, other than AJA, is I got a really big job opportunity and internship at Pizzaville 317. If you don't know what Pizzaville is, it's the best pizza and wings on this side of the 317.
A lot of people say I quit. However, I didn't quit. Okay? Avon Cross Country quit me. Sorry, I'm taking this off because it's just hot in here. I lost interest in running. If you want to think that's quitting, that's your own ordeal. A lot of people would say that's just finding a new path.
As spirits dropped on the team, a new running philosophy was developed that took the team by storm.
Pipe training, a lot of people say the pipe is a location. But I would say pipe training is less of a location and definitely more of a mindset.
Coach Toothman told us to never half-ass anything. So we decided to whole-ass our half-assing. And we ran not every day, but non-workout days, we ran to a location we called the pipe, which was essentially a retention pond.
So we ran probably a quarter mile out behind the softball field and just sat there. We found a pipe. We would hide in. It went under the underground, so we would just hide in that pipe for like all of practice.
The pipe. That was a fun place. I remember we had big old plans to make a crazy fort there at one point. Sort of fell through just because, but I remember we had a collection depot of random stuff we found on runs as well. It was pretty fun.
Probably ran 3 days a week, but we were improving. And so we figured, hey, if we run less, maybe less is more.
Yeah, I always saw those f***ers running through the parking lot, going back to the pond to each other off or whatever the f*** they do.
Pipe training proved to be extremely effective, as many practicers of it had significant time drops. Madison King, a strong practicer of pipe training, dropped a 1:55 at indoor state and led the Avon 4x8 to a runner-up performance. As the track team set its sights on an outdoor state title, they desperately needed a strong 4x8 to lead the way. And going into the state tournament, the 4x8 had fallen into complete shambles.
On the eve of sectionals, Hamza Syed, Madison King, and I had been constructing this huge cardboard boat for our physics project, and we were way behind schedule. I spray painted some of the boat without using any kind of facial protection, and so I was inhaling a bunch of this stuff, and it was taking my lungs to town. So the next morning, or the next day when I had to run sectionals, I ran a 2:06, which is a time I had not run since my freshman year, and I was never to run the 4x8 again.
At the last minute, a brand new 4x8 lineup had to be proposed going into the state meet due to the sudden illnesses that had swept over the roster. It consisted of veteran Jazz Briggs and moved Rhys to the leadoff leg. Meanwhile, junior Hunter Wakefield and senior star Madison King would retain their spots on the 4x8. What happened at the state meet was considered by most to be an embarrassment of the 4x8.
4x8 just had a rough day. That's how it goes. Disappointed there, but at the same time, it happens.
We got 21st. Do I need to explain anything else?
I don't want to sound mean, but the reason the 4x8 choked at state can really, for the most part, be summed up by 4 letters. SHRY. Not in that order, I'm just saying it in general.
I mean, honestly, no offense to the other guys, I love them. I think I did my part. 2 flats, not the greatest, but I was the 4th man.
Yeah, it was pretty disappointing. It's unfortunate. I had actually trained a little bit harder that year. And it's in the past, though. Can't do anything about it now.
We could have done better, but 21st, I'll take it.
Avon would have to watch helplessly as the Carmel Greyhounds clinched yet another state title. In the meantime, Avon's talented sprinters held off North Central to secure a runner-up title. Some blame the 4x8's loss on the pipe, but those people are total idiots. The class of 2017's legacy, however, was never about achievement. It was about coming together as outcasts in a sport that not many people pay attention to, and creating memories and friendships that would last longer than any trophy they could ever win.
Most entertaining class that I've had as a coach.
I'm the poo of this operation. President of operations.
Probably the most frustrating I've had as a coach.
We just want to be friends.
It's only been a year, but I don't know if I'll ever have a class like that again.
You guys left a remarkable impact on our team because lately everybody has been trying to act like you.
Coach Tuplin was a great guy. All the times I saw him and his beautiful family, beautiful Aaron, beautiful pancakes. Everything Aaron made was just so beautiful.
And I just kind of said, hey, listen, Coach, I had some bad news. He said, Carson, you can talk to me about anything. And I said, with a sigh, I said, I'm leaving. And he said, is there anything I can say? I said, no. And he said, it's been a great 3.5 years with you. And he started crying, which made me cry. We had an emotional moment. I'm kind of getting a few tears just thinking about it.